Thanks everyone for joining, and welcome to a memorial service for the one and only Hank Hiner, who we all knew and loved and want to celebrate today. We would love to be together in person, but it was important for us to have some sort of memorial where we could honor Hank and remember him and all come together and join in that. And we're going to choose to look on the bright side. Because of this format, we can share a lot of photos, a lot of videos, and some music. And we also have a lot of people who have joined us who may not have otherwise been able to or been able to travel. And it's particularly special to have Hank's daughter, Barbara, who's watching with us today with her caregiver. As Barbara said earlier this week, Hank is now living it up in heaven with mom, which is very special. A couple notes before we get started. I am Jessie Robbins. This is my sister.
I'm Hillary Robbins.
We are Holly's daughters.
And I'm Elise Stacy, and I'm Becky's daughter.
And we are the three grandchildren. A couple notes on the format and technology. First of all, please bear with us. Definitely the first time we've done this, and hopefully maybe the last, and we can all be together in person soon. We would ask everyone to keep themselves on mute. There is a portion where we will invite folks to share anecdotes, memories of Hank, and we'll bring you off mute one at a time and just ask you to keep yourself on mute at all other times. However, you're welcome to keep your video on. We'd love to see your face. We can see some of you right now. And I know it'd be nice for everyone to see each other. So would welcome you to turn your video on. Any questions, any issues, if you're not able to hear or see anything at any point, there is a chat function on the Zoom at the bottom of your screen. It has a little message bubble and says chat. You can drop your messages in there, and we have some folks on the Zoom who will be helping you out and helping coordinate that. Finally, and I believe this is the most important note, actually, before we do that, we are recording this, and I'm just gonna, yes, we are recording this, and this recording will be available after the service for anyone who would like to watch it back or cannot make it, so we'll send out the link for that. Finally, and the most important announcement, it is after 5 o'clock, so as Hank would say, the birds chirped, and it's cocktail hour. So we hope you have a cocktail to toast Hank. We'll have a couple toasts in his honor, so please join us in that.
So next we will have my husband Dan singing My Way, which was originally sung by Frank Sinatra. And this is a song that if you somehow don't know it, you will see that it is highly appropriate for Hank. And we'll have some photos to go along with it, which you should see on your screen.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friends, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway. Much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I can chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall, and did it my way. I've loved, I've laughed and cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing. And now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way. Oh no, not me, I did it my way. For what's a man, what has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way.
So it wouldn't be right to remember Hank without remembering the love of his life, Betty Lou Liz Hiner, our grandmother. And so I'm going to read from Hank's book, a short excerpt, which he titled My Love Affair. On Sunday afternoon in the summer of 1942, I told my sister Betty that I would like to have a date, but I didn't know who to ask. She recommended a good-looking girl, Betty Lou Wells. I was not so sure I wanted to take Betty's advice, but I called Betty Lou anyway. This was a blind date because we had never met. At the time of my call, Ruth Nelson was at the Wells house, and Betty Lou turned to Ruth and said, "Hank Hiner's on the phone and wants a date. What should I do?" Ruth told her she could always go once. For me, it was love at first sight. This was the beginning of our love affair, and I never looked back.
I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In the small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut trees, the wishing well, and I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's right and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the at the moon, but I'll be seeing you.
I love those pictures so much. Okay.
All right, folks. So at this time, we would like to give the opportunity to let you all have a moment to share with us. Just a couple of ideas might be, what's something that you learned from Hank? What's your favorite memory of Hank? Something like that. The only request that we have is that you keep it short, just out of respect for everyone's time and how many people are here and might want to share. So just a couple minutes at the maximum. And then if you want to indicate to us that you do want to share, just simply either raise your hand on the Zoom function, which if you don't know what that means, that's okay. Just you can literally raise your hand and we will take you off of mute and then you'll have the capability to share. So to kick us off, we're going to let Jessie tell a quick story.
So my favorite, I don't know, Hank anecdote or just consistent theme for Hank is that despite always being surrounded by beautiful women, and he loved it, he loved being surrounded by women, he always wanted a son. And he talked about this frequently. We have a pretty funny video we can show too. And unfortunately for Hank, he had 3 daughters. And that was okay. Maybe he would get a grandson, so he hoped, but those daughters, they had 3 daughters. And so far, these daughters have had, you guessed it, 3 daughters. So we don't know what ancient curse Hank angered or triggered or set off, or what he did in a past life. But now that he's gone, I think whoever here is having a baby next, it's going to be a boy.
For sure.
And I do have that video. You want to share it?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got, if you'll indulge us here.
This is so embarrassing.
Okay, but I need to share the screen. So we got to do that.
So guys, hold on, just to set up the context of this video. So Hillary was expecting, we thought that it might be funny for her to not tell Hank that she was expecting and to show up very pregnant to Thanksgiving. And we decided to record that. So that's what you're about to see.
Thank you, that's very important.
It's
context.
important context for the, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
All right, here we go.
Let's see if he figures it out. Let's see if he figures it out.
Where's your band back
Let's
here?
see if he just take his hand and put it right there.
Surprise! Is it a boy?
I told you.
That's what?
First question.
No!
It's a girl.
You are first.
All girls.
Is it all girls? Is it a boy?
So we love that for obvious reasons. But just, yeah, so any short story, brief little anecdote, anything you'd like to share, we'd open up the floor at this time. So feel free, you can put your name in the chat. I'll see if I can see you. If you wave your hand, anyone who wants to say anything or share a story, we'd love to hear from you.
Go ahead.
I don't see us.
We can hear you.
We got you.
You can see me? You can hear me?
Yes.
Do I have to go put a necktie on?
You're
That will be
great.
necessary.
You're perfect. Hank wouldn't want that.
Not only did Hank like his women, but Hank liked his family, his extended family. I think he really loved the reunion get-togethers we had at Ben and Jane's on Lake Erie. We would have some impromptu get-togethers now and then when there were some cousins in town. And just to get together for lunch. And I think Hank really relished in reminiscing some of the stories weren't always repeatable maybe, but they were fun and they were memories of Hank's. So.
Well, yeah, we've endeavored to share the more appropriate ones here.
And he is, you know, he loved his nephews, great nephews.
There weren't many of them.
Thank you so much, Jim. Could I,
Right.
Hey, Jesse,
yep.
this is Jay Myers.
Hi, Jay.
I have a story from years and years ago.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hank and Lou used to come up to our place in Northern Ontario, Canada, which they both truly loved. But back in the day, Hank would like to play his bugle for us, which was really irritating because he would do it at dawn and at dusk every day just to make sure we were all awake. And the dusk rendition was after he's had a few scotch and waters, and that was a little messy. But we sure enjoyed it, and we would look forward to it every year. And you would always hear that Hank laugh after he was done.
Yeah. As I recall, he was a better drummer than he was a bugler.
Yes, no, I sure hope so. I sure hope so. He would not have been in the Ohio State band as a bugler, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, really good point.
But
That reminds me of another classic Hank story where he brought that bugle to Disney World.
Oh,
And I think we may have almost gotten, I was quite young, but
Oh.
from what I've heard, we may have almost been evicted from that hotel because he didn't change his bugle habits depending on where he was on vacation.
Despite being in a hotel at Disney World.
Do you remember hearing Lou say, "Oh, Hank, Harold, oh,
Harold. Yeah.
he almost got evicted from the island as well. So
yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yep.
yeah, if he had his bugle in his hand, you just want to get out of the way.
For sure. Ugh, bless.
If anyone else wants to jump in, has a story, just take yourself right off mute.
I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, this is Ben.
Hey,
Hi,
Ben.
Ben.
And I'm one of the youngest cousins. But I always thought an awful lot of Hank, especially since he was a prisoner of war. That always stuck with me. And I spoke to many of my friends about Hank and the experiences that I read about in his autobiography. But Hank and I had some similar interests. I was always interested in stocks, and I know Hank was a stockbroker. So on occasion, we would compare notes, and I hit on a couple of stocks that were really hit the moon. And Hank called and said, "Hey, Norton, I don't know how you're doing this, but give me your ideas because I'll sort of follow the advice that you might give me." And we were both interested in bank stocks. And as a result, both of us did pretty well. The other thing I wanted to mention about Hank was when we had our family reunion, I think must have been about 2010. Hank was one of the speakers and did a lot of reminiscing. And as one of the cousins, I learned an awful lot about Hank and the Norton family that I had not known before. And my wife certainly enjoyed all of his, let's say, shenanigans, some of his jokes. And but he was a good friend, and we always enjoyed meeting with him. The last time we got together was probably about 6 weeks ago at Perkin Pancake with Hank and his caretaker. And there's Becky and Don and Jim and Nancy, Henry and Norma, and Jim and Nancy's daughter Amy, and our granddaughter. And we had a great time, a lot of discussion with Hank. At that time, we had to write things out because his hearing was not very good, and that might be a Norton trait because I'm sorry, I have a little hearing loss also. But you did a fantastic job in putting this program together.
Thank you, Ben, so much for sharing. We so appreciate that. And I got a message. So Sherry doesn't have the ability to share audio through her computer, but she texted me a story that I hope she doesn't mind if I read, or just a memory.
A dramatic read.
Well, no promises. So many memories. One of Hank's many gifts to me was his recipe for chocolate teenies.
Oh.
few days have gone by without either a thought of that, or much more often is today, a wonderful glass with a wonderful drink with Hank. Thanks, Hank. By far the favorite memories are what he would just simply pull into my mom's house, walk on in and say, "Hey, the bar is open, right?" I've heard him say that too. That sounds, I can picture that. Thanks so much, Sherry.
Thanks, Sherry.
And I know Henry and Norma on. Is there anything that you guys want to say? I see a couple other folks on.
I would just share with you the fact that I always thought Hank was a little bit jealous that Henry and I had 2 sons.
I have no doubt.
I did rub it in occasionally too.
Love it.
Love that.
Very good.
All right. I'll do one last call for any other stories. Any other memories. David, is that you?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Can you
Do
hear
want
me?
to share? Yeah, we can.
Oh gosh. Memories of Hank. I still remember back in the 80s when he came in for, you guys would have Christmas at Grandma Edith's, your great Grandma Edith's, and he would wear some of the coolest looking outfits, big pheasant kind of feathers coming out of cowboy hats, and just all kinds of stuff. Just to get a thrill out of everybody, is letting everybody know that Hank was here. Hank was in the room, and we should watch up. And,
he had a certain style.
Yeah, he took us out chopping some wood down in your old farmhouse. That's the one that I knew, where I first back in the 80s and stuff came to know your family and stuff, and enjoyed that little shed. Oh, you had a couple of sheds. One was all kinds of cats and stuff, but you had one with a slot machine and stuff. It looked really cool. It had to have been Hank's inspiration and stuff. Really your granddad and grandma were just wonderful people. My dad described, my father, Ken Carnahan, we gave him an iPad and for Christmas, and after he passed away, he gave it to me, or before then. And one of the passwords on there was, "What's the name of your best friend?" It was Hank.
Oh,
capital HANK. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, he was something else, unspoken. And Betty, of course. Yeah. Since they were knee high, pictures of them riding on horses and stuff, and just good, just really a warm feeling to be brought into your family and stuff, the Hiner family and all, and just good times, especially at that time when our family was looking for others to reach out and stuff. They really did a big one for us. Had no idea. It was really just wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that.
All your family. Yeah. Oh, of course. Oh, my heart goes out to you guys. You lost a big one, a couple of them recently and stuff. So.
Thank you, Dave, so much.
Dave.
Your story about Thanksgiving reminds me of Hank pulling up, and I don't know, I've never known anyone else who has this or has done this, but he had like a custom car horn.
Yes.
And it would be, for a while, it was like the Ohio State fight song, or whatever else he had, or Dixie. And
Dixie,
yeah.
I forgot about that.
Right.
How do you even do that?
Yeah,
who even does that?
I don't think it's
Hank
legal.
figured it out.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Yeah. Who goes to New York City to learn to be a stockbroker at what 50 or 65 or something?
Yeah, it was
Incredible
much later
stuff.
in his life. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Second
Really
child.
something else. Yeah. And then the book that he compiled about My Way. Oh, my dad just loved that. He sponged off of that, and he said, My River or something, or the bridge over My River or something. He took off of Hank's inspiration.
Yeah.
Essentially what he did. those times, you know, it's life or death for those folks that fought in World War II, and it just they all came off the same cloth. So it was really neat. It was really
Thank you so much,
special.
David.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Oh, of course.
And I see that we've got Jim
Jim,
waving. Was that a hello wave, Jim, or are you able to share
would you
something?
like to share something?
Oh, wow. Can you hear me? Is my mic on?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. Hi, everyone. No, that was actually a wave to Jay and Liz while I was discreetly
Well, now
listening
you have
to
to
the
share
rest of you.
share your favorite
I'm
memory.
sorry I'm late joining. I just got home from work, so I'm raising a glass to Hank.
Wonderful.
Careful. That's what we're doing.
Take
Everybody. Wow. I can't talk. I'm just taken aback by it all.
That's totally fine.
But I was pretty thrilled to see the email. And where's Elise?
Right here. Can you see us?
There you are.
Bring us up on the video.
Wait, how come you're not 15 anymore?
That's what happens, Jimmy.
I'm still only 38.
Yeah. Coincidentally, I am 38. Yeah, literally. That's
wow.
what. Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Oh, sorry, Jim.
Does that wrap it up?
Okay. I think in the interest of time, I think we should move on.
Yeah.
But thank you again, everyone, for sharing. I know that's Hank loved to tell stories and jokes, many jokes.
Yeah.
So we thought he might appreciate that.
Yes, thanks, y'all. We know this is a weird and uncomfortable forum, but thanks for bearing with us. So I jotted down a few things that I wanted to share with you guys. When I think about Hank, he was a World War II vet. He was a husband and a father. He was a farmer. He was a very talented musician, although, as we've noted, drummer, not so much bugler. He was an entrepreneur, but as was just noted, what I find fascinating is that that was like a second career, right? He was a grandfather and a great grandfather as well. Hank had a very sharp mind for business. He was determined. He was ornery. He was quick-witted. He was really fun. I spent most of my childhood summers with my grandparents, either on their farm in Ohio or in Lake Temagami in Canada. Hank used to call me his shadow because I constantly followed him around. I can remember the two of us pulling clothes off the clothesline at the farm and putting underwear on our head and then walking in the house to make grandma laugh. We were constantly laughing. And at some point, we started this tradition of making notes to each other on sticky notes. Like I would write a little note and then he would write back, and I'd usually just kind of pepper his office or he would find them. It was just like a silly exchange. But for example, one of the notes I wrote said, make a joyful noise, to which he wrote back, drop a rose. Now, if you're unfamiliar, that was Hank's signature way of referring to passing gas. So this is the kind of jokes he was constantly giving. So of course, those summers, we couldn't talk about them unless we spoke about the swamp. So my grandparents had their dear friends there and they spent their weekends there. I'll never forget gathering at the party shack and watching everybody pour their beer on tap and play the slot machine and sitting around those family style dinners, usually consisting of some sort of burned meat because there was usually a very long cocktail hour in there. Those summers, I learned a lot of practical things. For example, I perfected my softball pitch. And I learned how to shop for the best deals at Mr. Aldi's. It was kind of like a mini trade school. Hank taught me how to tie and untie a boat on Lake Temagami. He taught me how to shell peas. And to my mother's disapproval, he also taught me how to swear. He was known to recite clever limericks and songs, which were not for the faint of heart. These are always well received when I would quote them at my sorority house, believe me. Hank had the ability to give really sound wisdom, but in a way that even a difficult teenager could accept it. So for example, I'm gonna read to you guys a few lines that he wrote to me in 1996. But the context is the aforementioned newly accumulated swearing ability that I had. Now that you have entered these terrible teens, I think you need someone on your side, and here I am. You have inherited some ornery genes from both sides of your family, but I don't think that's all bad. You've also inherited some smart genes. I do my share of swearing, and I also know that it's socially more correct not to swear. Boys get away with these things better than girls, but that's not an excuse. I'm sure you'll be able to sort these things out and make the best decisions and learn from your mistakes. The thing to do is to enjoy your teen years while making decisions about who and what you want to be. And honestly, I heard that advice. It was good advice. So recently, we just came back from visiting Hank, like right before he died, essentially. So I think divinely timed to visit. But when we were there, it was quite funny. At night, you could hear him coming from his office. You could hear the wheels of the walker rolling. And he would come towards the bar and say, I'm looking for a little nightcap. And then he would give further instruction on how much thought you should pour. And for God's sake, don't dilute it with water. Hank taught me to live life and not to take it too seriously. He was resilient. He had the ability to compartmentalize negativity and move on in a positive way. And that's what I'm going to carry with me. And so to kind of end this eulogy in a true Hiner fashion, I'm going to recite to you one of Hank's very favorite limericks. The context is, I remember him saying, so he was a little boy and he was walking home from school and he found this piece of paper on the ground and he picked it up and he came home and he read it to his parents, who were positively horrified. And this, of course, spurred him on to memorize it and to recite it. You didn't know? And to recite it like as fast as humanly possible.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Which is what you're going to do now.
Which is what I'm going to do now. If a pig drinks a quart of buttermilk before he starts and runs a mile before he farts, and the farther he runs, the farther he gets, how far can he run before he shits? Now, in order for you to win this bet, I must tell you that before the far was left, that a farmer saw a pig pass with buttermilk shooting out of his ass. Now, the farmer was a mile from where the pig started, and the pig passed just as he farted. Now, if the pig is lucky and can control his gas and run a mile with a puffed ass, it seems to me if he keeps his wits, he can run 5 miles before he shits. That's for you, Harold.
We have some applause.
I think that's a world record that's never been performed in a memorial service before.
It's what he would have wanted.
But it's what he would have wanted.
So that's what we did.
Thank you so much, Hillary.
And now for a totally
something
different.
Completely different.
Thank you.
Not really good with transitions here, guys.
So we wanted to find a way to honor Hank's military service. And I volunteered to do this because a couple of months ago, my husband Dan and I were sitting in our apartment in France, and I don't remember why it began, but we really kind of went down a rabbit hole reading about Hank's military service as detailed in his book, and sort of looking at the map and tracing where he went in Europe, from Western France across to Eastern France, and ultimately crossing over the line into Germany, where he was captured, where he was taken in Germany. And we hope that while we're living in Europe, at some point, we'll be able to actually visit the camp where he was held for the majority of his time as a POW. So I've tried to select a few passages to read. These are part of an essay written by a student named Adam Jones, who interviewed Hank over a period of 2 years, culminating with this essay in 1996. And it's titled One Man's Saga, the story of Harold Hank Hiner, World War II veteran and ex-prisoner of war. At the time the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, Hank was home from Ohio State University, where he was attending college. He and a friend were riding in a car when the news flash came over the radio. Like so many Americans who lived through the experience of World War II, he remembers vividly the impact that moment had on the lives of everyone. Hank recalled that moment, the instant America was propelled into World War II, immediately changed everything from that point on. Hank went on to complete 2 2/3 years of schooling at Ohio State. Then on April 22nd, 1943, in his junior year, he enlisted with the armed forces. Mr. Hiner first pursued the Air Force, but was denied entry due to his colorblindness. His next endeavor was the Navy, but was again denied entry for the same reason. The US Army, however, found no problem with Mr. Hiner's visual condition, and they immediately enlisted him into their ranks. So we're skipping now to the part after Hank was assigned to the 94th Infantry Division, which was located in Camp McCain, Mississippi. And then the division boarded the ship, the Queen Elizabeth, in August 1944. which headed east across the Atlantic en route to Scotland. On board were 18,000 young men who, quote, played cards and shot crap on the way over, Hank recalled. The Queen Elizabeth was a fast ship and needed no escort, as was customary to prevent attack by enemy ships. It zigzagged its travel pattern the entire way across the Atlantic to avoid being attacked by German submarines. They were on their way to war, leaving their family and homes, to enter into an experience no civilian could ever begin to imagine. Some would return, some would not, and some, like Hank, would experience part of the war from within the enemy's barbed wire. There they would have no food, no warmth, and no sign the outside world still existed. They would only have each other in the hope that they might someday see home again. So this portion is about the time directly following when Hank was captured after crossing a line into Germany. And it says, Hank and his fellow prisoners were greeted into captivity with a 5-mile march and the promise of something to eat at that journey's end. They spent their first night of captivity sleeping in a crowded room with not enough room to sleep. The following morning, Hank recalled having their, quote, first taste of German bread. Each man was issued 3/8 a loaf with some lard. Hank staved off the urge to eat it all at once and recalled that later, that same bread tasted like chocolate cake after spending a week inside his coat pocket. Hank was eventually taken to a camp named Stalag 11B, where the food situation did not improve. The Germans didn't mistreat us, Hank said. We just didn't have anything to eat. Over the 2 months they were at Stalag 11B, the waiting and hoping got much easier as they sensed that the Allies were making further advances east into Germany. And the prisoners began to receive their Red Cross parcels more frequently. News of the Allied advance came nightly over the British compound's crystal set radio, much to the joy of the cold, haggard, and hungry prisoners, British and American alike. We knew we were winning the war, Hank said. It was only a matter of time. Indeed it was, and on April 16, 1945, that time had come. That day, Hank and every prisoner of Stalag 11B watched with awestruck eyes as the British tank division thundered by
I know it's
and signaled the first day of the rest of their free lives. One can only imagine the feelings, both spoken and felt, on this tremendous day of deliverance. I'm telling you, those limeys coming through with those tanks with their heads sticking out of those turrets looked mighty good at the time, Hank said with a reflective chuckle. That was really something. Hank eventually made his way back across the Atlantic on the Marine Fox, which arrived at Staten Island on May 19, 1944. On May 22nd, Hank made his return home to Ashland, Ohio. He hitchhiked most of the way home and stopped to get a haircut along the way. The barber would not allow him to pay when he found out he was a prisoner of war. Hank was dropped off at his home, and for the first time in over 2 years, his family laid eyes on him after not having received any letters from him for 3 months and not having known his fate. He remembers vividly his parents shouting over and over, Hank's home, Hank's home. Hank was granted a 90-day recuperation furlough before being discharged from the service. During that time, he married his longtime sweetheart, Betty Lou Wells, or Liz, as Hank calls her, on July 14, 1945. Before I got captured, I would write to my wife-to-be every day, he said. The service awarded the newlyweds a 2-week vacation in Miami Beach. After that time, he returned to camp and was officially discharged from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. He was awarded the Purple Heart for enduring frozen feet while in the service of his country. A lot of my friends were killed in the war, he said in his final reflections. I would think that some of us would wise up and stop having these crazy wars someday. Pretty foolish. And we wanted to note that for reasons we didn't quite understand, Hank didn't want to have a military funeral, but we are, as a family, immensely proud of Hank's military service. And if there's any of you who are attending who haven't received a copy of this book and essay, please reach out if you'd like to have one, because the entire history is really quite astounding.
Thanks, Hillary. I'd like to share a poem that reminds me of Hank. As many of you know, Hank always talked about the afterglow, which is that warm, fuzzy feeling that follows a good meal, a good drink, a good vacation with friends, watching the sunset on the veranda of Jamaica. I think was a particularly strong memory for him and something he would talk about a lot. So this is Afterglow by Helen Lowry Marshall. I'd like the memory of me to be a happy one. I'd like to leave an afterglow of smiles when life is done. I'd like to leave an echo whispering softly down the ways of happy times and laughing times and bright and sunny days. I'd like the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun, of happy memories that I leave when life is done. I think that's what I would have said. Okay. It is now time to raise a glass.
Pink on the right.
Okay, perfect. You see a lot of glasses in the picture. There we go. Yep, they can hear us. Okay.
Yeah, y'all, just to kind of round us out, and first of all, thank you everybody for joining us this evening. Again, we know that it wasn't the perfect, conditions, but we did the best that we could, and we hope you enjoyed it and were able to, get some comfort with the memories and the stories and get some laughs. Please make yourself another cocktail, because a bird can't fly on one wing, as we say. So I just want to send Hank off with a final toast. Hank, we love you. We will miss you greatly. We will never forget you. We will always remember you. You will always make us laugh. And we send you off to Betty Lou and your eternal afterglow. Cheers, friends. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you all again so much. We will make sure that this recording is available for everyone. It was really special to have you all here with us. Thank you. Have a good evening. And another cocktail for Hank. Good night.